The latest figures by the Bank of Ghana indicates that the country received $9 billion from her exports in June 2022 compared to the estimated $7.5 billion it spent on importing goods for the same period. While the total exports represent a growth of 18.4%, total imports also saw an increase of 11.9% within the one-year period. The Central Bank's summary of macroeconomic and financial data indicates that Ghana recorded a trade surplus of $1.43 billion in the first half of the year, higher than the $886 million recorded during the same period last year. The country, as of June 2022, made $7.2 billion in export revenue from cocoa, oil and gold altogether. This represents $1 billion more compared to the $6.2 billion the country earned for the same period in 2021. A look at the data shows that of all the commodities within the total exports bracket, gold dominated, recording $3 billion in June 2022, followed by crude oil, which recorded $2.83 billion. Of the amount, revenue from oil exports went up by over 64% between June 2021 and the same period in 2022, as the country raked in $2.83 billion, up from the $1.75 billion recorded in the same period last year. The performance of oil exports so far in 2022 is as a result of the higher price of the commodity on the international market, according to some stakeholders. Benjamin Nsia is the head of research with the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana.
We've had an increase in revenue because of the hikes in the price of crude oil on the international market. If you look at the data carefully, as at March, price of crude reached $122 per barrel. That is Brent crude. Even surging up to $139 per barrel. So even though this year, half of this year, production has declined by about 7%, because of the hikes on the hikes of petroleum products on the international market, Ghana is getting much revenue compared to last year, half of last year, 2021.
Export revenue from gold went up from $2.66 billion to $3 billion within the one-year period. The performance of gold for many stakeholders is largely due to a combination of the improvement in price and expansion in the output by both the small and large-scale producers, plus government's decision to reduce the withholding tax on gold exports from 3% to 1.5%. Exports from cocoa saw a decline in the first half of this year compared with the same period last year. The revenue from cocoa exports dropped by over 17% between June 2021 and the same period in 2022, as the country raked in $1.38 billion, down from the $1.78 billion recorded in the same period last year. Some stakeholders attribute the decline in the cocoa exports to the fall in the global consumption rate, among other factors. This has caused a fall in the export of the raw material. Anthony Morrison is the CEO of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana.
Low consumption rate subsequent to our own internal issues of Galamsey, destruction of cocoa farms for rubber plantation and Galamsey, the disease issues, and also our own non-investment strategy towards sustainable cocoa production in the country are some of the key areas we want to look at this from.
Total imports, however, stood at $7.56 billion. This was dominated by oil imports of $5.28 billion. The revenue from oil imports went up by over 341.6% between June 2021 and the same period in 2022, as the country raked in $5.28 billion, up from the $1.2 billion recorded in the same period last year. But non-oil imports such as food and other consumables saw a drop by 58.19% between the period under review, as the country raked in $2.2 billion, down from the $5.5 billion recorded in the same period last year.